Hi guys, it's me. I hope you're all well. I wanted to do a video today because I've been into a hospice for the first time. Now, I'm going to apologise in advance in case the dog barks, because it's that time of day when people are out walking their dogs. He can like smell them over the top of the house, very weird, and so he starts barking. So apologies if that happens. Anyway, yeah, and I just wanted to talk to you a bit about my experience there and how I was feeling and stuff like that. Because as people know, I find writing and vlogging, you suppose you might call it, or blogging online, quite cathartic. So St Richard's Hospice is our local hospice. It's about 10 minutes up the road from us, so it's not too far. My secondary breast cancer nurse, Sue, is funded through St Richard's Hospice, and I am very grateful to have her. She is amazing. So I can go to her with anything, pretty much at any time of day, and she responds to me. She's just brilliant. So for example, if I know that I've got a scan due and I haven't had a letter through, she will sort that out for me and chase it up and ask questions of my oncologist, things I might have forgotten. And every time we go and see my oncologist, we also have a session with Sue afterwards to talk about what's been just discussed with the oncologist. So she is amazing. I know I'm very fortunate to have her, because I know not everyone who has secondary breast cancer has such a dedicated nurse. But like I say, it's funded through the hospice, so it's a link between the hospital and the hospice, and I feel very fortunate that we have her and that they offer that service. And it's one of the reasons why with my charity head shave a couple of months ago, I split the funds raised, which was £5,746, I think, between the hospice and the breast unit, for which I do a lot of fundraising for in Worcestershire. Anyway, the other link we have through the hospice is Tim, which was Sue sorted as well, Tim is undergoing some counselling there because of the situation that we're in, because while it's obviously totally crap for me, it's also totally crap for him as my husband as well, sort of dealing with the emotional side of it, dealing with the physical side of it, having to sort of do everything while still be at work, and sort of thinking about what the future might hold, and all sorts of things like that. So he's just found that very, very useful, and I'm so grateful to St Richard's for to allow him to have those sessions, so he has time or chance to sort of offload how he's feeling with them. So the reason I went today is because they offer complementary therapies. See what they did there. So you can have a series of free 6 sessions of complementary therapies, and they offer a range of therapies, which I'll tell you about in a minute, for people like me and people who they sort of look after. So I was with some trepidation that I was going there today, if I'm being honest with you, because we all know what a hospice means, or we think we know what a hospice means, and it did feel quite daunting, and I did feel a little bit sick beforehand. I was quite fortunate that I was actually out for lunch with a friend of mine, Rachel, so by the time I got back from that, I didn't actually have much time before I needed to head up there anyway, so I didn't have time to sit and dwell on things too much, although before I met Rachel this morning I was thinking about it a bit. But as I walked in, it's actually through a temporary entrance at the moment, because they're doing something called Build 2020, which is a massive millions and millions of pound project to extend the hospice, to get more beds and things like that. So it's through a temporary entrance, and I had to sign in, and then I went through to another little waiting area to wait for the lady who I was seeing about having my assessment for complementary therapies. And it felt a little bit odd there, if I'm being honest with you. There was a guy that was brought out. I didn't look too much. I don't when I'm in the hospital or anywhere like that. You know, I don't stop and stare at people, because I know I get a lot of that anyway. So there was a guy brought out in a wheelchair with like oxygen stuff and all sorts, looking pretty terrible, very old, going out to an ambulance. And so I was like, oh my God. Anyway, thankfully, not long after that, I was called through. And as I went through, there were different rooms, didn't have much time to sort of like look at anything. No patients, no patient rooms. But you know, ones for those big baths that they have, where they have to like hoist people in and things like that. So there are rooms like that. Anyway, she took me into the complementary therapy room, or one of the complementary therapy rooms that they have 2, because they're having to use that temporarily as a bit of an office, one of them, because of the big build. Anyway, the first thing that I noticed when I go in is the chair sitting opposite, the chair directly opposite me, which is the one that I was due to sit in, was one of those chairs I can only describe. If anyone's watched Tipping Point, and to be honest, most people at work probably won't have, but for anyone that has seen it, they, during the adverts, they have, it's sponsored by some chair company, SJL Chairs, I think it might be, or something like that. Clearly I've watched far too many episodes of Tipping Point during chemotherapy. And they're those really old granny ones that you sort of press a button and they automatically sort of tip back and all this sort of stuff, and those really awful gaudy patterns, you know. So it didn't have a gaudy pattern on it, but it was one of those like very high backed cream sort of chair, and I was like, oh, you know, not modern, something that maybe a 42-year-old might want to sit in. Anyway, so I sat in that chair, which I actually found quite uncomfortable. And then the second thing I noticed about the room is that apart from the chair, was that it's almost like it was actually quite nice in the fact it was almost like a spa treatment room. Which I suppose it would be, because that's where they're offering complementary therapies. So it had a bed, and it was all decked out in like purples and stuff, which that's my favourite colour, purple. So I was like, great. And it had a nice smell about it. So again, like if you go and have a facial or a massage, a spa or a beauty salon or something, it sort of smelled like that. So it was quite nice. And then the lady I was talking to took me through an assessment. And she already had some of my medical details on file through my breast cancer nurse, through Sue. And then we went through various different questions. I was in there for about an hour. So all sorts of stuff. Do I have pressure sores? Do I have breathing difficulties? Do I have asthma? Do I have allergies? Do I have bone metastatises? Yeah, yes, I do. My sternum and my spine. So do I have basically secondary tumours from my original cancer in my bones? Yes, I do. And all sorts of questions. And then she said, do you have trouble sleeping? Or what's your sleeping like? Which most people know, if you follow my blog, is pretty rubbish at the moment. And without a sleeping tablet or taking some Piriton or something like that, I'm not sleeping through the night. I'm waking. I get to sleep okay, but then I wake up and I'm awake for hours in the night. And then I normally get to sleep again for a couple of hours before I sort of wake up in the morning. So that's been tough. And so I was talking to her about that, and then she asked me about energy levels, which, because I've had a couple of weeks off chemo because of my fingers and potential nerve damage, have been better. But obviously they have been quite rubbish because of the chemo. And if I go back on it, which I'll find out next week when I go and see my oncologist, I'm sure they will dip again. So it was all these various different questions. And then she asked me what I was looking to get out of complementary therapies. And for me, it was a combination of maybe something to help with the issues that I have with sleeping, to generally relax as well, just to generally, just chill out. And just to have something else to focus on that's not cancer and not feeling like chemotherapy and all that. So always like something nice to sort of look forward to. I haven't been for a facial or anything like that for such a long time, and I absolutely love that sort of thing. And I always find that type of thing very, very relaxing. So then she taught me through the complementary therapies, which are Indian head massage, aromatherapy massage, relaxation, something called hearts, which is hands-on touch. It's an acronym: hands-on touch, empathy, aromatherapy, relaxation, touch and sound. So a combination of all sorts of things, I think, where you try and visualise a time when you felt relaxed, like maybe going on holiday, or a particular walk with the dog, or just a walk generally, that sort of thing. And I have done that type of thing before. But in the end, I thought that I would go with the aromatherapy massage because of what I was just saying about the facial. I find that sort of thing very relaxing. Quite often I'll fall asleep during a facial. And so, well, actually at first I said to her, well, bearing in mind what I've told you, what I'm looking for, what would you recommend? Only because I'm absolutely terrible at making decisions. And I was like, I'm not sure which to go for, because the idea is that you have all 6 in the one type of therapy. So it's not as if you can have like Indian head massage one week and then relaxation another week. And what she also said is that go with it. So if on the first one you're thinking, ooh, not really sure about it, try it for at least 2 or 3 sessions just to see how you get on. And then if you're not getting on with it, then you can ditch it and try something else. So I've gone with the aromatherapy massage. which starts in a few weeks' time, which I will be looking forward to. It takes place at the hospice in the complementary therapy rooms. I did admit to her that it did feel quite daunting going in there today, and I got a little bit upset. And then I was okay. And actually, I'd seen a message from Tim, because when I was sat waiting, my husband, when I was sat waiting before she came out, the lady, to take me in for the assessment, I'd said, oh God, I'm sat in the hospice and I feel a bit sick. And he wrote back and said, remember, you're only a visitor. And I thought that was a really, really good way of looking at it. There might be a time when I'm a patient there, but I'm not at the moment. So he said, yeah, just think of it as you're a visitor. And bearing in mind that he's been in there as well, obviously for his counselling, that just made me feel loads better. So thanks, Timmy. That was a really good one. Yeah, so I was in there for, like I say, for about an hour, chatting it through. I now feel absolutely shattered because I've been chatting all over lunchtime with Rach, and now chatting with the lady at St Richard's Hospice as well. So yeah, it probably wasn't as bad as I was expecting, and I think I'll be quite glad to go there for another reason, rather than what people associate a hospice with. So at least I can be going through those doors for another reason, for now. So that's that. Just thought I'd get that off my chest because I felt like I needed to. Whether it's helpful for anybody or interesting, I don't know. But anyway, that's it for me for now. I hope everyone is well, and I will see you soon. So goodbye.